We're now joined by Eric Paul Johnson, our writer here extraordinaire, back from Temecula, and we have the video now ready to go from the Chaparral game. It's a long video, but we'll make it work here, and you'll see some of the highlights here as well. Let's just go ahead, Eric. Give us your initial thoughts on this game here.
It's one of those things
where... Oh, hold on a second.
One of those things where this is 2 out of 3 years where I've seen Chaparral in their opener, and, they kind of looked unprepared for their opposing team here. From what I saw, they moved the ball well on their first drive. You see Matt Marin here, a 34-yard run at this point, which set up their first touchdown. But after that, Cajon just dominated this game, and especially on the offensive side of the ball, Cajon scored on their first 3 possessions. And, balancing a spread offense, which you normally see from Cajon, but then also adding in the mix of the Wildcat with DeMonte Casey running that offense out of the Wildcat, and DeMonte Casey running for 169 yards out of the Wildcat offense today.
Did that surprise you, EPJ, that he was back there doing that?
No, I knew he was going to be. They were going to use him in that, kind of formation. I was just surprised that Chaparral just had no answer throughout the game for him. I mean, he had three carries from this formation over 30 yards, and you just see his speed getting past that Chaparral defense. Chaparral's got 4 potential Division I players on that defensive side of the ball, and they were just a step slow. And you see poor tackling right here, this is DeMonte's brother, DeAndre, running for, 92 yards tonight. So 415 total yards for Cajon tonight. Chaparral only getting 125. I guess what I was most surprised with is just how much Chaparral's offense struggled. First of all, 7 bad snaps, either bouncing or going over the head of Matt Marin. And then Marin only 3 of 11 for 15 yards and a touchdown. And, he's one of the most highly recruited quarterbacks in the West Coast. So Chaparral a lot of work to do before they step on the field next week.
Was it Chaparral's offense or was it Cajon's defense, you think, tonight?
I think it was more Chaparral's offense. Like I said, in, first drive, they moved down the field 80 yards with ease. And it looked like they were going, and then all of a sudden, bad snap here, bad snap there, and they were facing 1st and 18s or 3rd and 12s when they should be having short drives. And it's just one of the things. And, another person who stepped up big for Cajon today, we see there Edwin Martinez, the quarterback, had some big shoes to fill, replacing Thomas Carter, who was, one of the best quarterbacks in San Bernardino County last year, and he showed extreme poise, did not look nervous at all. He completed 9 of 22 passes for 141 yards and threw 2 beautiful touchdown passes to his tight end, Taylor Moore. So Cajon definitely is going to cause some fits for teams with that dual offense that they have. And I think, Coach Batten over there, what he saw today, it's going to work, that he's going to stick with that, and they'll probably add a little bit more into that. So, and the one thing that we didn't see too much tonight is apparently DeMonte Casey can also throw the ball pretty well, even out of that Wildcat. So if you try to come up to the line and, stop the run, he can probably let one fly and beat you that way too. So one of the best all-around players we see. And this was another big play here, great play calling from Coach Batten on this reverse here. And he said you see Chaparral a step slow.
That Cajon quarterback looks like a tank.
Yeah, he's like 6'2", 215. And the interesting thing is when they go to that Wildcat formation, they kind of line him up almost in like a H-back tight end formation. And it's usually the guy that Casey looks to throw to. As you see here, him catching the pass, and boom, he didn't go down easily.
No.
So, that's, I think, out of Casey's 4 attempted passes, 3 of them were targeted for Martinez, the quarterback. So
this Cajon team is very scary looking. I'm just watching them right now. That they're aggressive and they play. They're very quick as we expect from Cajon. But it looks like Kim's got a team that's going to be formidable as we go into the playoffs later on.
And he even said they looked at Chaparral, like I said. Chaparral, and you see here one of the bad snaps that was just plaguing Chaparral all night. They couldn't really match up size and strength wise with Chaparral across the board. Cajon does have a few big guys on that offensive line, but across the board they couldn't do it. So they had to figure out what they could take advantage of. And number one that they definitely have is speed with the Casey brothers. And then the other thing is that element of surprise.
All right.
Not knowing what to do, and they totally took some of Chaparral's best players out of the game. we know DeMonte Casey more as a receiver of what he did last year. When they lined him up, they didn't throw to him once today, and this was just a beautiful touchdown run right at the end of the game.
Wow!
And look at the block here.
That's the play of the night, I think.
That was the touchdown that kind of sealed it for Cajon. That it was about 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and that was one of like 2 or 3 runs where I think DeMonte Casey broke a few ankles right there. So
you're talking to Eric Paul Johnson here on HS Game Time Live with Louis Hammerstoy and Pep Fernandez, and here comes Dave Zink now.
So, Eric, I got a question for you. So, how much more weight do you put on the fact that they went to Chaparral and then handed it to him like they did?
It's definitely a big win for Cajon. You kind of say, is it a bigger win for Cajon, or maybe a bigger loss for Chaparral? Like I said, the thing that concerns me most about, like I said, Chaparral, it is, like I said, I saw them a couple years ago when they opened up against Centennial. And like I said, there were certain things where they looked unprepared. Now, that season, they turned it around. By the end of the season, ended up winning a CIF title. So they see what they need to improve here. The offense needs to get better. And like I said, the first thing that needs to start, they need to be able to get that snap to their quarterback.
Right.
Because he is a very talented quarterback. It's just when he's having to worry, is that snap getting to me? It kind of throws off their whole timing. But, definitely a team that needs to, given their schedule, in a couple weeks, they're going to have Centennial on their schedule that they need to improve, and they need to improve
That
fast.
schedule is brutal. I mean, they've got to play, they got to play Oceanside next week. They got to play Centennial. Those are 2 games on the road, I believe.
Right, and Oceanside's going to be hungry after a 20-0 loss to Servite. They're going to be out to prove something, and like I said, that game against Centennial.
By the way, Oceanside lost to Servite. I mean, yikes. That's not. That's a. Okay, it doesn't get much easier than that. And then you get Tesoro and you get Indio.
Right.
And no real gimme.
Not quite as tough as last year when they also had Servite on that schedule. But yeah, Tesoro is a tough opponent. Indio is probably the only one you can sit there and say Chaparral will probably win. But if they don't improve something, this could be another season where we're looking at Chaparral battling and scratching and trying to claw away for a playoff spot.
So